Cool.
I'm ready.
Alex, it's wonderful to meet you, sir. Thank you for taking a minute out.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So I'm looking forward to getting into your world of writing, your book, How to Be a Dude in the 21st Century, which I find fascinating. But before we do that, I want to know, surviving and living through this pandemic was quite a thing for all of us. It changed a lot of things. And even now there's all these ripples that have been made in the
Yes.
pond. How are you feeling the
Yeah.
effects of that time period? How did it change you?
Uh, it gave me time to rest. It was nice for me. I enjoyed the downtime.
Yeah.
I was going really busy. I was really busy. But for most people, it was very negative. For me, it was positive. I was able to take a deep breath, play more tennis, uh, But for young people, for a lot of people, not just young people, for a lot of people, it really changed the way their humanity was, the way they were, the way they communicate to people. No, after the pandemic, you notice a lot of people now can't look you in the eye. You're at Costco, carts are running into each other on the streets. Like, no one's seemingly knowing what other people are doing because our communication, our humanity is being cut. So our ties are links to see each other. And I think that's through the pandemic. And it goes through dating, the way people play sports, how much more reserved and scared people are to be out. You know, it has ripple effects that will be generations felt. It won't just be 1 or 2 years.
I agree. And I think that the kids took the brunt of it, like you said. I think
Yes.
there's levels
Yeah.
of social emotional development that were totally curbed. And I think coming back into the world, they didn't have the experience that we did that were alive for decades prior,
Hmm.
you know?
No, no. I mean, when I was out and about doing research for my book, what was happening, I would go to clubs and I knew all the managers, the bouncers, the band people, right? Because I would be observing young people and see their social patterns. And we called them, the people working in the club, they called them COVID babies, the
Yeah.
ones that never went out before COVID. And then once they were legal enough to get into the club, COVID babies, they acted so uh, different than people before COVID. They didn't have the social skills to be able to go out, be in that situation, and then put a little bit of alcohol into them. It just exacerbated whatever things COVID did to the people.
Yeah.
It wasn't good.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't for sure.
No.
So let me ask you this. If I put you in front of a bunch of third grade students right now and you had to explain what you do every day for a living,
Mhm.
how would you explain that?
I would tell the third graders that I'm trying to go around and talk about humanity and talk about how it is to be a person and how much different it is now than it was before when I was in third grade. How much more free it was. The inner child. We were allowed to do a lot more things, Joe. We were allowed to fall, scrape our knee. There was less supervision. So the kids had to come up with more rules. They would have more playtime with each other. Hence, they would learn how to communicate more with each other without having an adult say, "Hey, stop that," or share, or that's not fair, or whatever the adults think. The kids have their own little mini society. That's what's missing. That's one of the things I think that's missing right now is letting kids be kids.
Yeah.
Um, so if I were going to tell third graders, I'd say, hey, just play around, be a kid. There's time to learn rules and there's time to learn different things. But if you forget how to be a kid at third grade, you'll never have that inner child in you. And I think I'm seeing that with a lot of young people. There's like 13, 15-year-olds that are trying to take on the problems of the world. And they should just be 13 or 15. They should just be, trying to. It's just so different. They're
Yeah.
growing up too fast, Joe.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I'm listening to a biography on Mr. Rogers right now,
Yeah.
and just the philosophy that Fred had of protecting the kids and keeping
Hmm.
that wonder and wander alive.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And
Yes.
the guy that wrote it right now is writing it in response to the kind of this muck that we're living through right now. And you're right.
Yes. The
I mean,
malaise. Yeah.
I remember at one point my son scraped his knee or something happened or something would happen and you know his mother would just be freaking out. Like, look, it's going
Yeah.
to be fine. He's going to
Yeah.
learn how to ride the bike better. He's not going to do it
Yes.
again, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's just all these protections against. I mean, like when I was a kid, I got destroyed, and I just knew not to do it again, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, one of my chapters I read about when I was four. I think I was 4 or 5. I was in Manila, and my mom was cooking in the kitchen. I can't remember what happened, but I remember trying to skateboard through these cement tiles. And, I thought I could, when you're four, you think you could do everything.
Yeah.
Even now, I think but so I wiped out and I hit my chin straight on the cement in Manila. And I dazed, I walk into the kitchen. My mom's like, what happened? I fell on my skateboard, looks at it, nothing major, patches me up, says you're an idiot or something, whatever she said. And I go back out and I
Yeah.
skateboard. She keeps cooking.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we would take the kid to emergency, make sure everything's fine. There's no CTE, there's
Uh-huh.
no concussion, stitch it up, and then they're off the skateboard for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that we shouldn't, be concerned about the kids,
Yeah.
but with over concern, it's like they become so fragile. And that one example, later on in life, that's why there's so many young people that it seems like they're very brittle right now. And then once they fall down, they can't get back up. They have to stay in bed for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It really is. I mean, there's just so many things, but I get what you're saying. There's got to be certain safeguards. So I'm curious, in this evolved role that you have in your life right now, take me back to when you were in the third grade. What did you want to be when you grew up? What was your dream?
I didn't, well, in third grade, all I wanted to do was like run around the playground, kick a ball into the net, try to beat people in the playground, try to, you know, I didn't have the big picture goals yet because I think third grade, you're just exploring and experiencing and, you're just trying to explode. I mean, maybe later on in grade 7, grade 8, but in grade 3, I just wanted to beat the guy in front of me, whatever sport it was. And we played every sport, right? So whether it's football, basketball, baseball, tennis, we played everything. And that was my only goal. My only goal was to beat them.
Yeah.
And if I fell short, I had to get back up and get better. Or if I didn't get picked by the captains, it was so embarrassing that I had to, suck it up and keep improving. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of life lessons. Sorry, I don't think I had a big picture goal in grade 3.
That's fine. That's great. That's the way it should be. So, what were these foundational elements of like of becoming a writer and becoming somebody that's trying to help the youth? How did all of these seeds get planted into you and grow into you?
Well, so I'm a golf pro. I'm a
Yeah.
CPGA licensed golf pro. So I've been, around young people. And then for the last 10 years, I transitioned because golf had a downturn. So I had to find a different business. So I opened a driving school and I started teaching young people about 5, 6 lessons a day, 6 days a week. So imagine how many young people I was speaking with.
Yeah.
And, I can't just, in 90 minutes, we do 90-minute lessons. I can't just like teach them how to shoulder check for 90 minutes or scan or parallel park. I mean, so during, as we're learning, I'm talking to all these people and then I'm starting to get this really, an idea of their life. And I noticed about 4 or 5 years ago, there was about 5 years ago, there was a shift. Before then, I teach these kids, it was no problem. It was easy for them to learn. And for whatever reason, about 5, 6 years ago, all of that changed where it was so much harder for kids to learn. I don't know if it's a combination of social media, because it wasn't COVID, it was pre-COVID. I think social media had a big factor, societal expectations. I think there was some big societal uprisings that happened uh, that changed how people were. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I think one of them was Me Too for young men, where after Me Too, there was a lot of positives Me Too, but I think there was some effects that happened after Me Too for young men, specifically not being able to be as assertive to make decisions. So their decision making was really affected by Me Too. It seems like
Yeah. I totally agree. So, let me ask you this. Who was your hero? Who was your role model growing up?
I had. I play a lot of sports. So I would say MJ. I'm
Yeah.
a big MJ guy,
Uh-huh.
even though I hated MJ because he killed. I'm a big Supersonics fan.
I
So
gotcha.
I remember Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, even before that, Nate McMillan, all the OGs. Nate, MJ would kill everybody.
Yeah.
He killed everybody.
Yeah.
But, but I respected MJ because, he was the ultimate competitor. And, you could just see it. He dove for balls. He never complained about being triple teamed and getting hacked. So MJ was for me as big a role model as their Wayne Gretzky maybe
Yeah.
was a big role model. But yeah, MJ I think was big because I used to play a lot of ball, street ball too.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this. Talk to me about the book. Give me
Yeah.
kind of an abstract. Tell me what the clear message that you want the reader to get from this.
Well, the clear message is that young people are having a hard time, especially young men are having a hard time. It seems like they disintegrated. They, they're very they're not acting like men. And when I say a man, like there's certain things that society has had for men and women for 200,000 years. So men are the protectors. They're not protecting their families. They're not providing for their families. They're, they become so weak. Also, their traits, their behavior, they become cheap. They're toxic even more so now than in our generation, because they don't know how to lose. They don't know how to take rejection, or they don't know how to get back up. I am trying to reinvigorate chivalry to become a gentleman, strength, masculinity, to be masculine, but to be in control of your masculinity and to be good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a very strong guy and opening someone's door and trying to protect your town or your city or your family. There's nothing wrong with this. But it seems like a lot of young men now are having issues, understanding the role and how to be a good guy, how to be a good person in the community, but also to be very strong.
You know what's interesting? I'm a father. My son is 20. He just turned 20 and he's on the spectrum. And I've been very
Yeah.
involved his whole life. And I'm kind of
Yes.
an exception to the rule. And I look around at
Yes.
men and it just gets me. It's just like, you know what? I don't understand. If you're going to make this commitment to be a parent,
Yes.
just figure it
Yes.
out. No one knows until you get into it how it's going to
No.
work. But I just don't get it, man. Like I literally, especially in the community that I'm in with my son, I see so many men that just aren't around. And half of the time, people are surprised that I'm as involved as I am in my son's life. And it's just this perpetuation. And I don't know when it's going to end. I don't know when. I mean, there's this role this traditional role that women are supposed to play versus men. And it's just like, I don't know when any of that's going to graduate to the new century.
Well, I think there's a movement. There's some, there's a little bit of a movement to get rid of that,
Yeah.
that traditional structure. And you're not, Kansas City is not an outlier here. This is the north. Wherever we go, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Uh, so what you were saying about not knowing, I had my eldest son at 25. He's 50, sorry, he's 27 now.
Yeah.
So, uh, and then my youngest is 22. And you're right. I mean, I didn't know. I had no idea. But we have our instinctual behavior. We have our learned behavior our instinctual behavior through generations of doing this. And
Yeah.
we kind of have an idea how to parent our kids. And before it was almost up to us to parent our kids, but now society's trying to do that for us,
Yeah.
whether it's social media, government policies, school curriculums. It seems like the parenting is being taken out of parents' hands more and more, but it shouldn't be. The parents should be parenting their kids.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what you're seeing, Joe, that maybe there's not enough parenting going on between parents and their children,
Yeah.
uh, which is leading to some of these problems.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. What is the motivation for you every day to do this work? Because you got to give a lot of yourself. It's not light work, it's heavy work.
No, it's really heavy.
Yeah. So what is it that gets you up every day that gives you the energy to do this? Because not only do you have to provide and help other people, you have to develop as a human being. What's that collective
Yeah.
energy for you?
it seems like, I heard a voice. It's so funny, or not a voice, but I had a feeling that I just needed to say something. If I just stand back and I know kind of what, I can see the danger signs, I can see the signals. But if I don't do anything, then I'm conflicted to the problem. Um, so that's number one. Number two, being around people, like I've met tens of thousands of people, being around people, uh, you develop something different, even though you wouldn't believe I'm actually an introvert. Well, I was a born introvert. I was shy, insecure, but, as you get older, you develop as a person. And even though I'm still an introvert, you know, people laugh when I say this, but you can learn so much. You can develop as a person, and you never stop growing until we're not alive anymore. So that's my belief. So I'll never stop learning, or I'll never stop growing. I think that's the problem with society now is we're saying, okay, once you get this level, once you get this accreditation, stop learning. You know everything. No, we don't know anything. We really don't know that much about our world. Scientists, they only know about 5% of our known universe.
Yeah.
But it seems like everyone says, "Oh, science knows everything." No, it knows only 5%. As the smartest people. And so, how can we a think that we know everything and have the hubris to think that humans and science knows everything when really we only know 5%? And if we only know 5%, we should always be open to learning. And to answer your question, my motivation is to inspire people to have that growth mindset.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing is that society now is developing a lot of fixed mindset thinkers
Hmm.
where they're so worried about the results and not really working on the process of themselves or whatever process it is. And again, going back to Michael Jordan, if he wanted to win, he had to work so much harder in the process and in working out and getting the shots up mentally. And that's the thing now that I try to advocate to the younger people or to whoever wants to listen to the message and hear the message is, this is a different kind of book. This is a different kind of mindset. A lot of the mindsets that we're learning is fixed.
Yeah.
We want to be open to grow and we want to be open to try. And if we fail, we just get back up. No excuses, and you don't have to feel worried about judgment too. That's the other thing about my book is I'm a firm believer that we are overjudged right now in society, and people are so worried about every slight judgment, either a comment on online or a look. Everyone's so worried, Joe.
Yep.
We have to have a thicker skin. We have to learn to have a thicker skin and not be so affected by anything. uh, we want to learn, but at the same time, not be so sensitive to criticism or feedback.
You know what I think one of the most dangerous and sad things that's happened with this cancel culture, ultra aware world that we're in
Yes.
is
Yes.
comedians. Like
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like I remember when Don Rickles would get on stage and destroy everybody.
Yes.
Everybody.
He,
And
he
everybody
would
was
roast.
laughing. They were in
Everyone was laughing.
tears. And
They were.
that's just the way it is. I'm my dad was full-blooded Italian. He would destroy the
Yes.
Italians.
Oh
He'd
my
get
goodness.
Sinatra up there and take him down. It didn't matter. But we can't do that anymore. It's like none of
But
that.
why can't we? Well, why can't we?
Right. I know. I mean,
So I have a chapter about this in my book, Joe, called "Having Fun." It talks exactly what you just said is in my book.
yeah.
Because I said, I can't even watch comedy now because no one's funny. Oh, maybe Chappelle's funny, but there's not that many people that are funny. Back in the 80s, because I don't know if you know, I'm 53. So I grew up, with all this comedy in the 70s and
Totally.
80s. My God, it was the golden age.
I know.
And it was crazy. And if these kids now could ever go back to that time of the 80s where everyone was so happy and so free, and they could just conceptualize and be creative and be happy. And I tell all these kids now that think that we live in a utopian society. I'm like, you guys got it backwards. We live in we're like prisoners now. We live in a society that's not very, very nice.
Yeah.
If you grew up in the 80s and you could bike anywhere, I would bike to Little League and go pick and then bike home. and be out all day, and then at 6, 7, be home, and my mom's like, where'd you go? Oh, I was playing ball with so and so, or I was, it was so free.
Yeah.
And then, or I play 7 hours of tennis, go to 7-Eleven, get a super big gulp, go home with a bag of cheese balls, and watch Hockey Night in Canada. I
Yeah.
mean, that was my childhood.
Yeah.
Now, what are these kids doing?
I know.
They're like, and that's it.
Yep.
And like, so yeah, the comedy, we were so free back in the 80s.
Yep.
And I tried to say, why can't we have comedy like this? Who's stopping us? And Chappelle's like going against the trend, like, but like imagine he's this big guy and he's having all sorts of issues.
Yeah.
And it's not about being mean or anything. Like you see, I'm not whatever my skin color is. I'm not traditionally, and my gosh, how we would joke around with each other in the
I know.
80s was and it was amazing because everyone did it to each other.
Yeah.
It was there was it wasn't because we were trying to be racist or they were trying to be racist to us. Like everyone had this it was more free to say things.
Yeah.
Now people are so afraid to even say, okay, I was doing a lesson with this lady that had a master's in sociology about 5 years ago, 4 years ago, and we were talking about like this, about things that can be said. Okay, and as we're going in for a road test, and I said something like "gray." He's like, "Oh, you can't say gray." I say, "Why?" "Oh, it's offensive to seniors." He said it was offensive to seniors, Joe. And then, so we had these. We're talking about yellow. Oh, you can't say yellow because it'll say people are like scared of scared, whatever it was. It was
Right.
ridiculous. So now I said, so how do we describe this color? I was pointing to the one color. What is this? Off white? Because he can't even say white.
Yeah.
He can't even say black. I'm looking at her like, so this lady's about 27. I'm not disparaging her, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm
Sure.
finding comedy in the tone. I'm looking at her like, so we can't even describe colors anymore. This is actually true, and this is the cancel culture at its worst, and was it seems like being fueled by people that have higher degrees are more susceptible to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had a friend who's doing a PhD. He was 26 at the time, brilliant guy. He had his birthday party. Same thing. Before his birthday party, because he's my tennis buddy and we play a lot of tennis. He's in the morning. He said, "Alex, can we have a coffee?" I said, "Okay." So he says to me, "Hey, I invited you to my party, but can you try to be a little bit more discreet and less bombastic because my friends might not be used to it." He's forewarning me about his friends, right? And I said, "You know what? I've met thousands of people. I'm sure I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Do the party. Everyone's okay." But for him to even, give me that forewarning,
Yeah.
we are in a state where it's really bad.
It is. It
I
totally
don't
is.
know if in Kansas City if it's like that, Joe, but
It is. It's everywhere, man. It's so weird. Just all of it, how careful you have to be and the things you can and can't say, how people get offended. It's like there's a litany of things that just go into it. It's
well,
bad.
it's interesting. Like people, this is I've done a few podcasts, and everyone says, "Oh, your book is controversial. It's raw," and I'm like looking at them like, "How could this be raw and controversial? I'm just talking.
Yeah, right.
Like I'm
Yeah.
just, I'm just being myself. I'm conversing. I'm not saying anything bad about
Yeah,
anything.
right.
I believe in procreation. I believe in a man and a woman, but I'm not denigrating anybody.
Yeah, right.
These, and I believe that everyone is allowed to exist. I believe I respect everybody. I love everybody, but I have these beliefs about why it's important for men and women to procreate,
Yeah.
and I guess that's now controversial. Like, doing something biology states that humans do is now controversial.
Yeah.
How are we gotten to this point, Joe?
We have gone so far into so much information that we've created all of these conspiracies. We've created all
Yes.
these theories. We have filled the vacuum with unnecessary clatter of trying to fix decorum that never needed fixing in the first place.
No.
And now we're in
No.
the midst of everything that's done or said being under a microscope. Like even there's just little things that I've done too where I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
Yes.
But and I'm 52, so I'm in the same boat. Like I come
We're
from
the
that
same
era.
age.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I remember about two, maybe 3, 4 years ago, it's somewhere in that window. I was wanting to get press credentials to cover a Bill Burr comedy show. It was at one of
Oh
our
yeah.
outdoor venues, and it took about 2 days, and they got back, and she was like, "We'd really like to do it, but we're not letting any press in." And I said, "Well, if this makes you feel any better, I'm a fan. I'm not going to come from a weird place. I just literally want to cover it." And they're like, "We are not letting journalists around any of this anymore." That's where we're at, man.
Yes.
Comedians don't want anybody around that's going to start and film and make an
Make
issue out of it.
problems.
And I totally get it. 100% get it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, it's sad. And so that same experience that you had, these young people experience it
Yeah,
in a much larger scale.
sure.
Guys, young guys. So we're the same age, right?
Yeah.
So I have a chapter about my ex-girlfriend, my soulmate, Marie, 1987. You know how I met her, Joe? I go up, I'm walking in Vancouver, and there's this donut shop, just like Dunkin's. It's called Dunkin's Donuts. I look inside, look through the window, and there's this angel dressed in a donut shop uniform. Well, I can't just like look at social media who she is
Yeah.
because 87,
Yeah.
back in the day. So I go inside and I say, "Hi, my name's Alex. I saw you through the window. Can I get your number? Can I call you later?" That's how I did it.
That's it.
Imagine working in the county. And she's crazy enough to give me her number.
Yeah.
But the point is now, people can't do this.
No.
People no,
No.
no, because they're afraid that there might be a Me Too reaction,
Mm,
or they're going to be called the toxic male. But these are natural instincts that
sure.
men and women do. If I'm attracted to somebody, I will look at them.
Yeah.
Now, guys have asked me, Alex, it's really creepy if I look at women. I said, no, no, no. If you look at a woman and you find her attractive, you find her nice, or whatever it is, right? And she looks back. Instead of looking away, look at her and smile.
Yeah.
And if he at that time you'll get the social cues. If he doesn't smile and she looks away, then okay, then go separate ways.
Yeah.
But if she smiles back, say hi. Sorry, I know this is so uncommon or unusual these days, but I noticed you. Is it okay if I talk to you?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that,
Right.
and it's very, it's non-threatening. But why can't we do that? So all these guys now, it's called risk, right? So these young guys, they call it risk, which is short for charisma. They have no risk
Yeah.
because they're afraid to even look at women. They can't just hang out, lean back on the wall and just chill because they're so worried about everything.
Yeah.
So the young women keep complaining, Alex, there's no guys. There's no guys that are dateable. No guys have risk. They're so creepy. Well, but the reason they're creepy is because society has told them, hey, you can't look at women.
Yeah.
This is bad. This is negative.
Uh-huh.
So they're not developing these natural dating and mating instincts to be able to present themselves, to meet somebody.
Yep.
And so I write extensively about this in my book, the importance of learning these traditional traits of of how we used to meet people, how we used to communicate, look people in the eye. It's so easy with this.
Yep.
You go like this and you swipe, and people think, oh yeah, oh my gosh, I did great. Look at this. I pulled 5 women. No, no, that's not meeting anybody.
Yeah.
This is a very dystopian way of dating. No, real dating, real relationships happen when there's a spark created, and this spark happens naturally. And you would like to happen organically. You would like it, and I'm not saying dating apps you can't have an organic spark, but it's not as likely as if I met somebody. It's like us. When the first time, we started chatting, I like you, Joe. And it's just this human spark.
Yeah.
There was and these things, how comfortable you are, how comfortable I am, these things are natural things that humans do
Sure.
in friendships, or if it's a man and a woman in a relationship. But we're losing that because of this, because of these.
I know.
We're losing the ability to do all of this.
And it's probably it's our part, which is why you have your book out. We need to teach these guys, right?
I'm
Because
trying. I'm trying to mentor them. Yeah.
yeah. So let me ask you this. After 53 years on this planet, of everything that you've done, what are you the
Yeah.
proudest of?
Raising my kids.
Yeah.
That if they go, because they're grown men, 27, 22, and everywhere they go, the feedback I get from people is, oh my gosh, they were so nice, they were so helpful, they're gentlemen.
Yeah.
that would be the proudest thing, instead of, oh, your kids are awful. My God, look what they did. They created this mess. Oh, no, both of them are in long-term relationships. They, you know, that's the feedback I get from coaches, from parents. So that's the proudest, I would say that's the proudest thing that I can say.
So is the man behind this book on a mission? I got to know everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, readers, everyone that knows you in different capacities, but you run the
Yes.
show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I'm a person that is on a journey to try to figure out life. I'm halfway that journey, if not even less than halfway. And I feel like it's exciting. It's exciting to learn, exciting to understand, exciting to not know. There's a lot of things I don't know.
Yeah,
And if I learn something new, I'm very excited. I'm very happy. Jack Nicklaus, the famous golfer,
sure.
because being a golfer,
Yeah.
he said, I always want to learn something new every day. And the moment I stop learning something new in golf, I'll quit golf,
Yep.
which that's the beginning of the downfall. And so that's who I think, who when I see myself, I used to be very arrogant. I used to have a big ego when I was in my 30s. I thought I knew everything. And now in my 50s, I realized I really didn't know that much. And if I had mentors like me when I was younger, even when I was in my teens, I quit tennis, junior tennis when I was 14. If I had me mentor me, I would have said, you know what, big picture goal, you could have gone to college, this is amazing, this opportunity. Um, I I would have benefited a lot. I didn't have the mentors
Yeah.
to guide me that way. Well, I'm trying to be that mentor to a whole generation of young men to try to, which is crazy. I never thought I would be writing a book or talking like this.
Yeah.
But a lot of young men need mentorship, and
Yep.
I've actually already helped a lot of young men even before my book got published. So everything that I've written in the book, there's a lot of young men that have already benefited and have started long-term relationships, started a family, had babies. They're much more acting like what men used to act like,
Yeah.
and they're very thankful to me. So young guys, middle-aged guys, because I mentor guys, 40-year-old. There's a lot of guys that are needing support.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. So if
Um, yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
And no, no, no. And it's essential and what you're doing is essential. So I'm curious, anyone out there that's listening, if they feel like they want to reach out, obviously if they want to get the book, How to Be a Dude in the 21st Century, any of the good business in your world, where do they go?
Okay, so besides Amazon, if they wanted to, they could actually reach out through social media. So I have my Instagram is actually open. It's at Alex Loves Jazz. So Alex and then Loves loves and then Jazz, JAZZ. So my Instagram, so when I was doing my research and being out and about, I actually got to meet a lot of musicians and hung around and it documented my daily life. And when people look at my Instagram, Joe, they're like, oh my God, this is so different because it's so authentic, it's so transparent.
Yeah.
You know, there's no filtering in my Instagram. I'm not trying to show something that's not. It's just my daily life. But if people really are in need and they go to my Instagram, um, if they need, some, some inspiration or someone just DM me.
Sure.
Say, Alex, I watch your podcast on Joe Dimino. I'm really having a hard time. Is there one or two words can you, uh, and I'll DM them back. I actually will.
Yeah.
As maybe when I get really busy, I won't be able to reply to everybody right away. But if there's someone in need, Joe, I'm happy to I'm happy to listen and I'm happy to respond. And I will do it.
Yeah.
I won't just say something and not do it
Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
and maybe that's the next step is to build an organization where if there's men in need or people in need to reach out and then we can give them inspiration so that before they, yeah. I mean, so the last part of my book, okay, so
Sure.
bear if you could bear with me.
Sure.
It's one of our volleyball buddies. So as I was doing my research, I started playing volleyball with 20 and 30-year-olds. And one of the guys, popular guy, had a big truck, girlfriend, good job, like one of the most popular guys in the group. And this was last year. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. Like he succumbed to the societal expectations of him, and he's not with us anymore.
Wow.
Same thing last month. There was a tennis pro in the 60s, same thing. And people were asking, was there any signs? Um, one of the things that I'm really seeing, the warning signs, is that men are breaking like twigs, Joe,
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
And for whatever the reason is, they think it's happening. And I can see it everywhere. And I hear it from every, demographic, every societal. Like it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. It doesn't matter if you're successful or not. Like there's something's happening.
Yeah.
And so if my readers or people watching this podcast, go to Alex Loves Jazz
Yeah.
Instagram. And if you're at that state, just really reach out. And then there you'll really get it. And um I will share my thoughts and inspiration, and if I can inspire somebody to just get back up,
Yeah.
you know, this interview, this podcast, my book has already done its job. Just one person.
Yeah.
But imagine if we can help, a lot of people. So that's why the message to spread this message is so important.
Absolutely.
Because when you ask me what I want to do or what I thought was, my goal is to help as many young people as possible, young men. And if watching my funny Filipino face at 53, thinking I'm 26, with my smile, if that can inspire people, if that can give them some levity and some inspiration, that's what I want to do.
That's
I want to
perfect.
help.
Absolutely. And I have no doubt. Thank you, Alex, for spreading the light. Thank you for your time today. And before we get out, because it's running real low here, have a wonderful holiday season and a great 2025.
Thank you. Joe, can I say Merry Christmas to you?
Yeah,
May
absolutely.
I?
Yeah.
And Merry Christmas to you.
Same to you, man. I appreciate it. Have a great run this year, man.
Thanks, Joe. You too.
Thank you.
Happy New Year too.
Happy New Year. Bye bye. See ya.